Yo YouTube, GK's back with another Monster Hunter video. I haven't talked about Monster Hunter in a very long time. In fact, I think the last time I talked about it was a cast and crew video right around when the teaser trailer dropped. And before we get into the article and the drama that is surrounding this Monster Hunter movie, while you clicked on this video and in the title, I think it's important to provide some context to kind of educate you on the parties involved in this drama that is this movie. The first thing I would like to say is that I thought the Monster Hunter movie was a great idea. I personally liked the fact that they were taking changes, adding real story to the game, and pulled a writer from the games to work on this movie to add a real story. I have always felt that Monster Hunter is like a Pokemon where there is no character development, there is no real story, and I thought this movie was going to provide that. I thought fans were being way too hard on this movie. Given the reactions and the comments I was reading from IGN, it was just so negative, it was out of this world. And yes, the drama that is surrounding the movie now obviously warrants some of this hate, but before, when this teaser trailer dropped, people were hating on it, I felt, unfairly. It wasn't their direct translation of their video game. I hate to break it to you, Monster Hunter World was super successful, and that was the Monster Hunter that even spurred this movie. Monster Hunter itself does not have a good story. It has a story, but it's not good, and as a Monster Hunter fan, and I am too, kind of, a little bit, you know that as well as I do. We like the game for the gameplay and what we do in the game. We don't necessarily care about the story, but they killed it before the news happened about this movie. Now, let's talk about the parties involved in this. So it's basically China and the movie. On simple terms right now, we'll get way more in-depth to it, but I want to talk about China for a second. Do we remember the Hearthstone player who decided to make comments about China? There's the article titled, Blizzard breaks its silence on controversial suspension. A pro Hong Kong Hearthstone player who said something on live air. The two announcers also got fucking reprimanded. This player didn't get his money because he was speaking out against China at the time. We remember that story, right? Do we also remember Animal Crossing in China? Some Animal Crossing players in China are using the game to protest government policies, and now the Chinese government is banning the game. I don't want anyone to think I'm bagging on anything. I just want to present things to you about censorship and China and control, and the fact that the people are protesting that, and they currently are still. Finally, a little homework if you are even more interested in the topic, because this all leads into this article we're going to get into by Variety. If you are super interested into the topic, I really suggest you check out the full episode of this Joe Rogan, but these two clips will suffice. Hollywood has been corrupted by Chinese financing. Melissa Chen, What Americans Don't Understand About China. I do recommend these two to go check out. I understand that Joe Rogan recently has been catching a lot of heat, though at one time I really felt like he was very impartial to his beliefs and everything, but these videos are worth a watch because they are more examples of one of the parties involved in this drama, their true opinions, feelings, and facts, and the things that they do and control in our media. So if you do want to check that out, I highly suggest it. I think it will help you understand the viewpoints in this lengthy article about the drama that has happened. I'm just here to present the article, and we will talk about my feelings as we go with it. So this is a long video. Buckle up, because this shit goes deeper than video games.
Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, Grown Kid Talk Show. Yo, it's the Grown Kid Talk Show.
So like I said before, I was a fan of what Monster Hunter movie was trying to do. I am in the minority of those people because I thought that Monster Hunter needed huge implementations to even make it to the big screen. Shout out to Monster Hunter World for making this possible because it was so successful. But here we go. Variety. Monster Hunter pulled from Chinese cinemas over scene said to be a racial slur by Rebecca Davis on December 5th. This is going to be one of the longer videos because we're going to read it all, so that way we all have an understanding, an unbiased opinion, and then can formulate our thoughts. Chinese regulators are in the midst of censoring the Hollywood title Monster Hunter after controversy broke out outlined on opening day over a 10-second long exchange in the film that patriotic local viewers say insults China. The fantasy action film is produced and written and directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, who also was the Resident Evil guy, and stars wife Mila Jovovich, Tony Jaa, which is dope, T.I., and others. Really quickly, I thought this was also good because Paul and Mila have a relationship not only in the movies, but in life. And say what you will about Resident Evil, it is a video game movie franchise, and I think over time, he may be getting better at that kind of transition. And plus, Tony Jaa is the fucking man. If you don't know who that is, he's super dope. It also features Jin and Young, better known as MC Jin. He is the first Asian American solo rapper to sign to a major label and is well known in China for his appearance on the popular competition show The Rap of China. Jin is also very dope. If you don't know who MC Jin is, he was actually really big, probably like 10-ish years ago. He's actually really fucking good, so go check out Jin if you don't know who that is. The movie is loosely based on the immensely popular role-playing video game series of the same name, developed by Japan's Capcom, but sold and distributed in China by Chinese tech giant Tencent, whose firm arm also co-produced the film. Capcom, in my opinion, has been on the rise. I think they have great games coming out in the future and have been releasing steadily good games for a while. A few missteps, but I think Capcom, for one of them older type of companies, is really on the rise. I'm not going to say much about Tencent, but know that they control a shit ton of things and do a lot with that power they have. Just so you know. Monster Hunter enjoyed midnight screenings in the small hours of Friday local time and officially debuted in Chinese cinemas on Friday, December 4th, fully 3 weeks ahead of its planned December 25th US release date. Despite hitting China fresh and first, it grossed just $5.19 million on day one. Good enough only for third place after trouble quickly emerged. Cinemas around the country began to pull the movie from their lineups when what was intended as a lighthearted moment in the film was taken by local viewers as a gloating insult. Though around a quarter of the film screenings in China were allotted to Monster Hunter on Friday, by Saturday that had fallen to only 0.7%. By around midnight the same day, many cinemas received an urgent notice to cancel all upcoming screenings and issue refunds for shows already sold. According to numerous screenshots of such directives posted online, a new version is being produced overnight and should be the one screened. Theaters should please strictly observe that the old version should not be further screened a single time, one read. So they pulled the movie, and according to this, that they were going to do some kind of reshoot to the movie so that way it can be showed. Nothing seems out of line, especially in the 2020 climate, right, for this kind of thing. But later on, Saturday morning local time, new leaked directives that Variety has not yet directly confirmed said that distribution of the DCP copies for the new version has also been suspended. This is not confirmed yet, indicating that the release of even a censored version is effectively halted. If so, it will deal a blow to Tencent Pictures' reputation and indicate that the Chinese political winds have now become serious headwinds for American content, even when that content is, in the case of Monster Hunter, jointly produced with German, Japanese, and Chinese firm. So what we have here is a notice that there are strong political things taking place that are affecting the media's distribution or the content of said media, even though this movie was produced by German, Japanese, and Chinese firms. While some hardcore fans of the video game said that they still hope the film adaptation will be allowed to rescreen after cuts, most others cheered on the idea that it would be taken down for good. Now this is a little bit weird to me because the hardcore fans, most of them actually hated the idea of the movie anyway, which kind of tells me that the movie may actually be good and that they still want to see it. That's just my opinion on that. Someone posted, if there is no severe punishment in the future, others who want to humiliate China will just humiliate China, thinking it's fine to just give those Chinese a version to screen with the insults cut out, wrote one Weibo user. Weibo is a popular social media platform. operated by Cinecorp and not affiliated to Tencent, owner of WeChat, though many online comments appeared to blame Tencent for content changes on the site, where trends and visibility are notoriously susceptible to paid manipulation. What we have here is that there is obvious some kind of paid manipulation happening, and people are, in this case, they're trying to blame Tencent. This will become important because this rabbit hole only goes deeper. One post addressed Tencent directly. Ha, so you'd rather cut out the insulting part in the night without banning it outright. Sure, go ahead and help the foreigners save face. Now I find this obviously a little much, but let's keep reading. Tencent declined to comment for the story, while Capcom and production companies Constantin Film, Impact Pictures, contracted by Variety, had not yet replied at the time of publication. Sony, which distributes Monster Hunter in other territories but is not involved in its China release, said it was not fully informed of the situation and declined to comment. Meanwhile, Chinese users have quickly flooded the video game's Steam page with hundreds of angry negative reviews, most mentioning dirty knees. Even as few gamers are leaving positive reviews specifically to troll China, such as one that's merely a long bilingual list of the country's most censored issues and events. The interesting part is that the country's most censored issues and events, which I did end up showing you at the start of this video just to provide some context about what and who we're actually talking and dealing with. Not that that's bad about how they do things or how we do things or how those people do things. I was just bringing that up as the climate surrounding China has been a controversy as of late. One user wrote, "Capcom is dead to me," wrote one negative reviewer in Chinese, while another wrote in English, "I don't recommend this game just because of its movie racism." Okay, I guess. What do Chinese viewers find so offensive? Big question. It's worth breaking down exactly what it is about those 10 seconds of Monster Hunter that has set off such a firestorm, if only to get a glimpse of how unforeseeably difficult it can be in this political climate to create global content that works in China, now the world's largest film market and abroad. Another wrench comes into the plot here. They are the biggest film market, and how hard it is in a political climate that is obviously going through things with all the censorship and bannings that I showed previously, to create global content that works for what China wants to do. Early in the day on Friday, a short clip of the offending passage seemingly shot in a cinema by cell phone circulated on Chinese social media. It appears to have sparked outrage due to the subtitles and an unspoken, inferred subtext that would likely have been lost to those who know only Chinese or English, but not both. So, this is a very niche comment, and there seems to be something wrong with the subtitles, which always there's something wrong with subtitles and translations. I know you are a gamer, I'm a gamer, we all know that that kind of sucks sometimes. That's not a reason for the slur, but that could be one. In the scene, a white male character and an Asian character played by Jin are driving together at high speed. "What?" says the former. "Look at my knees," shouts Jin. "What kind of knees are these?" asks his companion. "Chinese," jokes Jin, punning on the word's last syllable. Though some might view this as camaraderie and banter over a bad pun, Chinese viewers were incensed after the exchange was interpreted as a reference to an old racist schoolyard rhyme insulting Asians. Chinese, Japanese, dirty knees, look at these. It apparently sings songs accompanied by knee slaps and slant-eyed gestures. This interpretation was subtly propelled forward by the Chinese subtitles. To localize the joke, translators made the dialogue a reference to a Chinese colloquialism about how men must have dignity and not kneel down easily. Men have gold under their knees and only kneel to the heavens and their mother. The saying goes in rough translation, implying that anytime a man kneels, it should be on an occasion precious as gold. So, scene itself has two interpretations. We have a white male character, and we have our Asian character, Jin. I personally find it a little weird that Jin, a MC who is that dude, who is not shy and who is vocal, wouldn't at least mention something about the scene. It makes me believe that Jin might not have had a problem with it, because as an MC, you use words, you use metaphors, you look colloquialisms, you flip them, you change them, you do things to them. So he might himself not had a problem with it, because I don't believe he would have just stood by and been involved in this type of joke. That's my opinion there. We do have two sides to this slur. The inference of a connection to the racist rhyme from the words knees and Chinese combined with the subtitles phrasing about kneeling down appears to have made many patriotic young viewers believe that the moment in English must be an obvious insult. They're not concerned with how they actually feel about it as if it's a slur to them. They feel as if English viewers see it, they'll think it's a racial slur and an insult, and therefore they should not see it, is what I kind of got from that, which again, I'm not going to comment on right now, just want to lay it out for you. Worse, many feel that the translation, which swaps in reference to gold and makes no mention of Chinese, was a deliberate cover-up of the offense. Now, these people don't know that as fact, so I can't speak on that. So we don't know if that was a cover-up in the translation and the subtitles. Again, they don't really know what's going on, but they believe that it's a cover-up. By afternoon, the hashtag Monster Hunter Insults China had taken off on Weibo. Viewer ratings apps quickly filled up with angry rhetoric. Who's under your knees, Chinese people? Sorry, garbage movie, let's boycott it, wrote one of the most liked comments on the Mayoan ticketing and review platform. Another chimed, if you're a Chinese person, you understand that you shouldn't go see this, right? The film currently has a lowest 7.8 out of 10 rating on Mayoan and a dismissal 4.9 out of 10 on review site Douban. Now, 7.8 out of 10 is a pretty good score, I think, in my opinion. The 4.9 out of 10 is review bombs and not true. Probably somewhere in the middle of that, meaning that it's actually a pretty good movie, probably. Even the ruling party's Communist Youth League took the unusual step of slamming the film on its official Weibo account Friday evening, pouring gas on the already burning flames of patriotic outrage with a post calling out American racism and hypocrisy. Now, this is, and I've said that this is where it gets bad. To me, what I'm about to read says more about the person saying it than the comment itself. What kind of knees are these? It wrote above a hashtag of the movie's title, accompanied by a photo of a giant policeman's knees crashing down on the tiny heads of upward-looking passerby, overlaid with the words, Floyd's, can you breathe? I'm going to give us all a second to think about this. A ruling party's Communist Youth League said this because of their anger towards the movie's slur, which we had read can be interpreted two different ways, which then we also read that they're not necessarily mad about the translation in their own country. They're mad about how Americans may view the scene when they watch it. We also have the added drama of a conspiracy for the subtitles because that says something different and they think that is a deliberate cover-up. That all culminated into then making this comment about George Floyd. All the parties involved here made a mistake, may not be able to be pinpointed, but let's continue. The missive was soon reposted by Xinhuangge, an important high-level Communist Party magazine focused on party building that targets government officials, alongside the English caption, I can't breathe, and a smiley face. There's the picture that these parties posted, these official magazines. Let that sit for a moment. Both posts were later deleted, but the fact remains that two high-level government entities speaking to an internal Communist Party audience with highly controlled messaging chose to use a passing moment in a video game adaptation to prod the US. By Friday evening, Capcom Asia had issued a Weibo statement in Chinese to distance itself from the growing controversy, reminding readers that it had no role in the production of the film. It was actually that German, Japan, Chinese, the Tencent, they had a hand in making this. That is one of the more confusing parts there. The Capcom hate is just an innocent bystander here getting hit with this. They actually had nothing to do with it. They may be scapegoated, but they had nothing to do with this. After learning your opinions about the movie Monster Hunter, we've collected everyone's ideas and reported the situation to the relevant companies, it said, saying it hopes to continue to live up to your expectations in the future and keep on creating appealing video games. Nationalist criticism catches Tencent in an awkward bind. The incident highlights the extent to which even the biggest companies can be laid low by runaway Chinese nationalism. That tide, stoked by a constant official rhetoric and narratives about how China is the victim of centuries of international prejudice and misunderstanding, has often been turned against foreign companies. Now it has turned against homegrown Tencent, as users criticize the conglomerate for participating in a foreign production that purportedly slanders China and appearing to censor nationalist criticism of the film. So this is interesting because Tencent is a company based in China and therefore use their power to censor the nationalist criticism, and they're not even above that. Tencent is left in an awkward position, caught between appearing to silence patriots and defending its financial interests. A certain China-insulting film is madly deleting people's posts. Looks like somebody's nervous, taunted one Weibo user Saturday morning, as censors continue to expunge critical posts en masse. Maybe a little bit of the context has been lost by now, so let me give you an example. The Last of Us Part 2, and how Naughty Dog, with Sony's collusion, was copyright striking YouTubers talking shit about that shit game. Maybe that comparison helps you out, so that's the same that Tencent was doing. Currently, a Weibo search for Monster Hunter insults China yields the message that results cannot be displayed because they violate relevant laws, regulations, and policies. Commenters have now begun to use homonyms or English abbreviations for the phrase insult China to evade deletion and continue bashing the movie. That's how far the censorship goes. Even the China's strict film censorship apparatus hasn't evaded the nationalist euphoria, with many chiding authorities for failing to censor the film more aggressively. It's truly inexcusable that the censors didn't catch something like this, one wrote. I agree that this should have been caught before it got to this point, which then again leads credence to they didn't think or make it up as a slur, is what I'm getting from the fact that this even got through. Meanwhile, posts arguing that the clip isn't actually racist in content have also been taken down. Interesting that the posts that say that it's not racist, which some of them do believe because we saw earlier that they don't want Americans to see it. If the lines came from the mouth of a Chinese character, then in the way black people call each other the N-word, it's not really discrimination, wrote one censored take. Interesting, right? Because I did say that I find it hard for MC Jin to be a part of this scene and not take issue with it. Another defended Jin's character by saying it's illogical for an American-born Chinese to engage in racial discrimination against Chinese people, according to the website Free Weibo, which archives censored posts. So they are archiving censored posts, which I find very, very creepy. Clever internet users have started to adopt official rhetoric championed by the powerful Central Propaganda Bureau itself as a sort of shield to protect their expressions of displeasure from deletion, possible further politicizing the situation. The Bureau has recently championed the need for Chinese society to resolutely prevent the risk of capital manipulating public opinion, a phrase whose hashtag is now being used by anti-Monster Hunter, pointing out how posts against Tencent's interests are disappearing. The story's rabbit hole is deeper and going and going. We should push those anti-monopoly laws forward quickly, one user wrote under the hashtag to accompany a screenshot of Weibo blocking searches referencing new rules issued in draft form last month that could pose a threat to Tencent's dominant market position. Another cheered, capital deleted posts off the entire web, but in the end, it can't block the raging, surging, angry will of the people. That concludes the article about Monster Hunter's racial slur. So I want to know what you think about the Monster Hunter movie. Before the racial slur happened, did you think it was going to be good? I certainly did, but now let me know, what do you think about the racial slur? I am under the opinion that because Tencent was involved in the production, they had to have seen this scene, otherwise they didn't do their diligence, and they're just a company who have been buying shit and controlling everything, which I do believe Tencent has a monopoly. China is definitely rallying behind this movement to maybe negate all of those other instances of censorship and the people's comments about the government itself. Very hard for me to comment on this because I live in America, where things are very, very different. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I am more of the opinion that if the Hearthstone player spoke out, if the people in Animal Crossing are speaking out, if we look at that Joe Rogan podcast with people talking about monopolizing of the market and how China feeds and fuels this kind of underdog tale, but they have all the power of the market that they own to either deny someone to sell something in their area because it doesn't meet their laws and rules, which, as we saw, those can change at a moment's notice. I don't know, it just seems like a lot of drama, but I did want to bring this up to you. Hopefully I seemed impartial. As you know, I am not one for racial slurs at all. I do think that the scene should have been removed before it came out. I do think adding Jin to the scene, though, makes it seem like it was not intended to be that way, and therefore was supposed to be the gold subtitled meaning. There is no cover up to this, I believe, and to think that the problem is actually Americans viewing the video and not the Chinese, because they didn't necessarily have a problem with that, equating it to saying the N-word between other N-words, I think is a fair reference. I don't think China itself is probably ready for that conversation. And I say this because of that post about George Floyd. That was probably one of the most petty, inhumane, unnecessary things to say or compare it to that I even discussed this in what I'm hoping is a fair way. Because I really held back. I definitely did want to say some things about the country, except I just don't know enough. But from what I've seen, they control a lot, they have a lot of power, and there's no check to that power. And people get silenced. Comments get deleted. Opinions get snuffed out. People die. So it's very scary. It's very real. And I'm glad I was able to hold back how I really feel about the topic matter, because I thought the Floyd comment took everything to another level. I'm the grown kid. Let me know what you think about Monster Hunter, either pre-racial slur or post-racial slur. It doesn't matter to me. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know I talk a lot. I definitely rambled. I didn't rant because I tried to show a level of respect that wasn't shown in this topic. I'm the grown kid, and I catch you back in another video.